In this video, I'm going to rank every single Season 2 in Fortnite history, beginning with Chapter 1, Season 2, and coming all the way to our current season, Chapter 6, Season 2, Lawless. If you guys go on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like, use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop, and make sure you subscribe because we are almost at 100,000 subscribers. With all that being said though, let's get right into the ranking. This is going to be a good one. So at number 6, in my opinion, ranked the worst Fortnite Season 2 of all time, that's going to be Chapter 1 Season 2. And well, how am I ranking these, you might ask? Well, I think the main way I wanted to go about it is really if I could pick any of these seasons to go back and play in order, which ones would I go back and play in that order? And Chapter 1 Season 2 kind of fell to the bottom of the list for me for a couple of reasons. I mean, look, right, the game was still in its infancy stage. Everybody was still kind of figuring out what Fortnite was, and you know, some of you guys watching this video may have never even played Chapter 1 Season 2, but to be quite honest with you, you didn't miss out on much. You know, I'm trying my best to just keep nostalgia out of minds for this video and just straight talk about, you know, the content we got, the map changes, weapon changes, all that stuff. And we didn't really see that much of that in this season. And, you know, look, it's not this season's fault. As I mentioned, it's very early, but I gotta rank it on the same playing field as the other seasons here. And we got some decently big updates, you know, mini shields, damage traps, the suppressed pistol, chug jug, stuff like that. You know, not really game-changing stuff, but definitely good additions to the game. The main update in this season was the map rework, right? So this was the update that added tilted towers, snobby shores, junk junction, shifty shafts, all that stuff was added in Season 2. And for the most part, yeah, I would say it's a good update, especially tilted towers. You gotta have that in there. But besides that, I think a lot of those POIs I just named are just incredibly forgettable. And honestly, my mind would not have been changed if they, you know, didn't add junk junction or snobby shores or any of those locations that are just pretty bad, honestly. Limited time modes were added for the first time. I mean, besides 50v50, you guys get what I'm saying. We got stuff like Sniper Shootout, which was a great game mode. I can't believe they've just kind of forgotten about limited time modes, and it kind of reminds me, if you guys would like to see me rank maybe every single limited time mode in Fortnite history, I'd be down to do that if you guys would want to watch it. The Battle Pass was decent. You know, I'm not really crazy about the Knight theme. The Black Knight, obviously incredible tier 100, but I can't even really say tier 100 because it didn't have 100 tiers. I believe it was like 70 tiers, so not even really a fully fleshed out Battle Pass here. You know, honestly, I think my problem is there's just not enough content to keep you around for like an extended period of time. Maybe back then, yes, but as we're seeing now with Fortnite OG Chapter 1 Season 2, you really see how boring it was once you kind of take nostalgia out and put the game how it was, you know, 7 to 8 years ago. The pace of the game is just very slow. There's, you know, close to no mobility, and in my opinion, there's just not enough significant changes to the game to put it any higher. That's it for Chapter 1 Season 2. Let's move on to our number 5 spot. At number 5, that's Chapter 5 Season 2 Myths and Mortals. You know, I think this is going to come to, you know, maybe a little bit of a surprise to some of you guys watching this video, but, you know, let me explain over the next couple of minutes. So first of all, let me just give this season its flowers that it deserves. The Greek mythology theme is incredible. I mean, this theme had been leaked for years and years. I remember in like the summer of 2018, there were already leaks. They were talking about making a Greek mythology theme season. So I'm glad it finally came to fruition. And with that being said, I think this is actually a pretty solid battle pass. Especially Hades as a tier 100 is an incredible option. And I will circle back to this, you know, important theming later, but let's talk about the medallion rework. I think this is something that was very needed, right? Where medallions started to come with abilities instead of, you know, just healing you over time. In my opinion, it made medallions a lot more desirable. And of course, you know, it added some more character to the locations they were found at, you know, added another reason to go to those locations. I guess, you know, my only really problem is they were pretty poorly balanced in this season. The aspect of agility that Cerberus's medallion was by far the best, and really none of the others were even close in my opinion. Let's see what else I got on my notes list here. Yeah, the Gatekeeper shotgun was absolutely broken. It is one of, if not the best shotgun of all time, which I think acts as a blessing and a curse. It's kind of a double-edged sword if you think about it, because yes, like I do think that seasons that have good shotguns, if you think about it historically, those are typically considered good seasons. I think my problem here is with just how the Gatekeeper shotgun acts as being that, you know, like 3 to 4 shots before you have to reload, you just fire them off back to back to back, makes it so that every other close range weapon, for the most part, I'm not gonna say every single weapon, but for the most part, close quarters weapons were pretty useless this season. There's no real reason to hold an SMG. God forbid, you know, you even think about taking a pistol. And so that kind of hurts the loot pool a little bit. It makes kind of for a messy messy meta. You know, there's no spray meta at all, which I know some people will like, some people will hate that. The Harbinger SMG, which was a new gun, completely overshadowed. People just totally forget that thing even existed. Hyper SMG, useless. Don't even bother to take it. Even the other shotguns, like I just don't see a reason to take it when the Gatekeeper was in the game. So you can kind of see why it acts as a double-edged sword in my opinion. And kind of circling back to that theming, right? The new locations were done so well. The themes felt absolutely amazing. And really, in my opinion, every location genuinely felt different and unique. You know, I saw a comment on a recent community post of mine. You know, when you flew into Mount Olympus with the wings of Icarus, it really felt like you were, you know, up there, up at the top of the map with the gods. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, it really did feel like that. And I would say the same thing with, you know, new items, right? Like, while they certainly weren't the best items of all time, items like the Wings of Icarus, Chains of Hades, Thunderbolt of Zeus, they're all really cool and wouldn't really fit in any other season besides this one. I think it just adds to, you know, the identity and theme that this season had, which was really good. They got rid of the Reaper sniper rifle. Whether you see that as a pro or a con, you know, that's up to you. I can't talk about this season without mentioning the Avatar collab. It was incredibly well done, I would say, for the most part, until waterbending became absolutely busted and just kind of plagued the game for a couple weeks. There was another, you know, really cool Star Wars collab that brought the Wookiee bowcaster. It was a brand new weapon. I think my kind of general consensus on this season is that it felt like it had a really strong start, but kind of fell off significantly at the end. And, you know, ultimately, I just didn't really like the Gatekeeper shotgun meta at all. I think the mobility felt a little bit iffy. You really had just shockwaves, and that was really it. The Wings of Icarus were not great. You know, if you went up against anybody who had the green skulls or the aspect of agility, it was basically just GG's. You know, like, I don't think this is a bad season at all. It's just not strong enough for me to put it up any higher on this list. Next, at number 4, we've got our brand new addition to this list. That's Chapter 6, Season 2, Lawless. All right, so obviously, this is a brand new season. It's really tough for me to rank it kind of this far into the season. It's only been out for like, what, 2.5 weeks at this point. So I think, you know, take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But, you know, so far to me, it feels very kind of middle of the road. Like, I think my biggest problem is it feels like the meta hasn't changed at all from Chapter 6, Season 1. I think the only difference here really is replacing the Typhoon Blade with the baseball bat. And even with that being said, they're still very similar items. I will say, like, regardless of what you have to say about the bat, I think it's a super fun weapon and just overall like a really unique item. In terms of the battle pass, I think it is painfully mid. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a bad battle pass, but let's just put it this way. Am I going to be running any of the skins from this season's battle pass after this season's over? Absolutely not. I'm just kind of tired of the spies, you know, heist theme. We had it in Chapter 2, Season 2. We had it in Chapter 4, and then they tried to do it again in Chapter 6, and I think they missed the mark a little bit. It's just like, how many times can you kind of, you know, just try and reinvent the wheel over and over again? As I kind of touched on earlier, like, my biggest problem with this season is that all the new things they added, besides like the baseball bat for the most part, just feel unimpactful. They don't feel important. The plasma burst laser, the porta cover, even the collateral damage assault rifle and the new sniper, like, to me, they just don't really impact the meta at all. It just feels like they're currently not better than any of the meta weapons that carried over from Chapter 6, Season 1. Like, I'm taking the Hollow Twister over the collateral damage. I'm still taking the Sentinel Pump Shotgun. I'm taking the baseball bat, which is basically just a reskinned Typhoon Blade to an extent. They didn't add any, like, really, you know, revolutionary heals besides, like, the Gold Splash, I guess. I wouldn't even consider that revolutionary. Like, you kind of see what I'm getting at. I just feel like there's nothing that separates this season, you know, from kind of the rest of the pack. Like, there's nothing that makes it feel unique from other Fortnite seasons besides, you know, I guess blowing up vault doors with thermites. I will say though, like, it feels great to have the Mammoth pistol back again, and I don't want this to seem like I'm literally just dragging, you know, this season into the ground. Like, the gameplay still does feel smooth with that loadout, you know, Hollow Twister, Sentinel Pump, baseball bat, and it's still so early that so much can change over the next couple months. We already know so many new items are coming to the game, and honestly, I hope I come back to this and that they added so much new stuff, and I just am forced to rank it higher. But until that time comes, I feel that Chapter 6, Season 2, Lawless, unfortunately, is extremely mid. And speaking of mid, at the number 3 spot is Chapter 3, Season 2, Resistance. So I think I've got to address the elephant in the room right away, and probably the reason why this season is pretty high up on this list, right? It's zero build. Chapter 3, Season 2 introduced zero build mode to the game, and honestly, it really revolutionized Fortnite. I think it revolutionized the way people play the game, and it opened the door to so many players who, you know, maybe couldn't keep up with the building aspect of the game, or, you know, were just tired of the building gimmick, but still loved what, Fortnite was and what it had to offer at its core. While, like, I can't really speak on the zero build meta throughout the years and how zero build plays because, I don't really play it that much. I can admit this is one of the biggest and probably best updates to Fortnite in its history, and it truly is one of the reasons why I had to rank this season at the number 3 spot. Of course, with the addition of zero build, we saw the introduction of new movement mechanics like tactical sprinting and mantling, which at this point in the game are core aspects of how the game's played. Not only, just in zero build, but also in builds mode as well. If you'll remember, it's actually crazy, but they literally vaulted building for the first several weeks of this season. You literally could not play builds mode besides either arena or team rumble. They essentially forced you to play zero build, and this was an absolute insane decision by Epic Games. It's just not for me, right? Like, I just don't like playing zero build, and honestly, we'll probably never see building vaulted like that ever again. So, what a ballsy move there by them. It's a decent battle pass, not my favorite and not the worst either. I will say, like, I strongly dislike the tanks and the armored battle bus. I just don't really like the idea of like super heavy vehicles on the map. The new addition of the combat SMG, I mean, that thing was absolutely insane at its peak. Probably, if not one of the best weapons this game has ever seen. We got things like, I don't know, a reworked thermal scoped AR. It was a needed rework, but still a pretty mid weapon in the grand scheme of things. We got the Ranger shotgun, of course, solid addition. There were a ton of map changes that happened throughout the season. I actually loved the blimps, that were hovering across some of the POIs for that constant mobility. I will say, like, the loot pool to me still is kind of up in the air this season. It was really messy. Like, you just had a ton of weird items all over the place, like the anvil launcher, airstrikes, balloons, the Choppa was there. You had the LMG, railgun recon scanner combo. There was just a ton of weird stuff going on in Chapter 3, Season 2 in terms of loot pool. But finally, like, obviously, I have to talk about the Collision live event. I mean, absolutely peak. Storyline in general felt so good in this season, and I think Collision is one of the best Fortnite live events of all time. Some people may even say it is the best, and I could see that argument happening. Ultimately, like, yeah, I think this is a pretty solid Fortnite season, some great new weapon additions, but it's really helped out by the creation of zero build. I think the Collision live event capped off the season, perfectly and left a pretty good taste in my mouth, for when I come back on videos like this to look back on Chapter 3 Season 2. All right, we have moved inside the top 2, and at my number 2 spot is going to be Chapter 4 Season 2 Mega. This was an absolutely fantastic Fortnite season. Neo Tokyo, that kind of cyberpunk sci-fi theme. It's such a great one, and it's perfectly executed here. It is one of the best Fortnite seasons of all time, and I think this is, the point in the list where the seasons go from being, kind of decent and good to really just unbelievable. Mega City itself is a goated Fortnite location. It is inside my top 10 for the best locations we've ever seen. Again, like, you've got a pretty solid battle pass here. I would say, probably above average. But, I'm just going through my notes here. I mean, listen to everything that was introduced in this season that was just god tier, right? Like, first of all, the introduction of Loot Island. It's a great mechanic that's obviously still in the game to this day. It's been in almost every single season since its introduction. And, it creates that kind of like almost mini game within the grand scheme of a Fortnite match. It's kind of a game within a game, and you'll hear me use that term later on in this video. How about the legendary Slurp Juice, right? Like a top 5, maybe top 3, top 2 healing item ever. Basically instant full health and shield. You can stack multiple of them. Just belligerently overpowered in my opinion. The overclocked pulse rifle, the Havoc pump shotgun, the kinetic blade. I mean, right, this loot pool is absolutely stacked with brand new items that were incredibly good. They felt fresh, and the season basically said, you know what, if we make everything overpowered, well, then it's pretty balanced, right? Like, there's nothing overpowered if everything's overpowered. I mean, at the time, the Havoc pump shotgun was the first shotgun, in my opinion, of course, to ever dethrone the regular pump as being the best shotgun of all time. You had new augments that, I don't know, like, they felt pretty mid. Nothing really memorable stands out to me. You had some great collabs, right? You had the ODM gear introduction. That's a fan favorite item that goes down as one of the best mobility items and one of the community's favorite items we've ever seen. And how about the Star Wars update? You had like the overhaul to the new lightsabers that had like all these unique functions, unlike the old ones that were just treated as melee items and that's it. You had the introduction of the brand new ranked mode, which in my opinion was much needed. It was a significant significant upgrade from Arena. With minor tweaks, it's still in the game today. I mean, I even forgot to add the Spider-Verse web shooters in the collab section for this season. They added sniper glare, which, you know, I know it sounds minimal, but as a sniper player, like, I really hated this update, and still to this day, I hate the fact that there is sniper glare in the game. As you can tell, right, like, it's incredibly difficult for me to find anything negative to say about this season, and, you know, look, if you wanted to put it at the #1 spot, you could absolutely make that argument. This is, you know, without a doubt, one of the best Fortnite seasons we've ever seen, you know, let alone just Season 2's. But all right, you know, look, I don't think it's going to come to a surprise, you know, to really anybody. And my #1 spot today is Chapter 2, Season 2, Spies. This is widely regarded as being a top 3 Fortnite season of all time, and in my opinion, is really the best season this game has ever seen. While, yes, like, you could make the argument it was helped out by these circumstances kind of going on in the world at the time, I think this season would have flourished, you know, regardless of the extenuating circumstances. First of all, the Battle Pass was fantastic. I think the characters felt like they had life to them, with, you know, each of them having their own unique cutscenes that added personality, you know, to the Battle Pass skins in ways that, you know, up to this point we had never seen before. Also, I think the game forcing you to pick a faction, either Ghost or Shadow, is absolutely genius, and it made you feel like, you know, you were really supporting a cause within the game. It is without a doubt one of the best themed seasons we've ever seen. And the list of new things that were introduced is crazy. I mean, you have the introduction of shakedowns, you have the introduction of henchmen. How about phone booths that would allow you to disguise your skin? I haven't even begun talking about the map changes, right? Giving each Battle Pass character their own unique location just added to their personalities, and each one felt completely different. The rig felt different than the agency, which felt different than the grotto, and so on, obviously. It's not just that these POIs, you know, looked cool either. They're all incredibly well fleshed out with great loot and great mythics for the most part. This was the first season to really fully flesh out mythic items, right? Besides, I don't know, like the Infinity Blade and the Infinity Gauntlet. While, yes, I acknowledge that most of these mythics totally destroyed the balance of a lot of matches, and especially on controller, right, were like must-haves if you wanted to win a game, I felt as though it gave players something to do during the game, right? Like, it was no longer just, you know, pray you get good loot out of a chest and win the game. It was, you know, let me loot as fast as possible and rotate to one of the new locations to try and hunt down Brutus's minigun or Midas's drum gun. And as I said earlier, it's like there's a game inside the game. That is a good thing. The mythics were all unique in their own way, and besides, I don't know, like Deadpool's dualies and maybe TNT's Kaboom Bow, they were all usable. You had the introduction of Choppas, you had the Deadpool collab, absolutely amazing, so well done and well worked into this season. I mean, he literally had his own menu in the Battle Pass you could check up on him, and like every week he would like change positions or there'd be like a new hint. I mean, I remember him like just literally like sitting on the toilet for a week straight, just making like funny noises. It was insane. We haven't seen something like that ever again. Honestly, like, this is just absolutely an unreal Fortnite season. And while Chapter 4 Season 2 comes close, I just don't think there's any beating Chapter 2 Season 2. All right, guys, well, please be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this ranking. What seasons would you move around? Do you agree with my #1 spot? Do you agree with my #6 spot? I love interacting with you guys in the comment section down below. If you did go on to enjoy this content and you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to leave it a like to let me know you guys are enjoying it. But with that all being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace.